with, he'll have a head full of ideas, a bag full of cash. He's appointed a sporting director. So I know they'll be coming at this seriously. They have to, don't they? Because if they don't believe that, then what are you doing? You're buying yourself into a losing battle, and at considerable cost.
Aye.
So they can't be coming into this accepting that second is good enough.
They won't be coming to lose, obviously. Aye,
exactly
but,
right.
Aye.
But how you go about creating the same sort of winning culture that Celtic have got, and as I said, it's been forged over a number of years, and Rangers are going to have to start from scratch. And that's why I have said previously, Daniel, I think it might be a mistake to overlook the idea of keeping Barry Ferguson and his staff in there, because I think that they're a link, a bridge to a time when the club was competitive. And you take that bridge away, what have you got?
Who's there? Aye?
You've got a squad full of players that aren't good enough, and the best manager in the world can't turn that around.
No.
But you also, I think it's really important, and we've talked about it before with the Rangers recruitment. If you don't know what you're looking for, how can you find it? And if you've got a scouting system network in place, and you keep signing players that don't have the mentality required to succeed in this peculiar environment, you'll keep making mistakes. It'll keep getting further and further and further away.
Yeah.
So big decisions for Rangers to make. They've also got this situation now where they're so up against the clock, it's frightening. They're months behind. I mean, they're years behind Celtic, but they're months behind in terms of planning for next season. So it would actually take quite a miraculous turn of events for Rangers to be ready to put up a real, credible title challenge next season already.
I should say, for everyone watching, we'll hopefully be joined by Record Sports' Craig Swan from Celtic Park. He was at the game yesterday, so we'll definitely get his take on events. But let's talk about Rangers now then while we wait for Swanee. I mean, 2-2 draw at St Mirren yesterday. 3 games now against St Mirren, with all due respect to them, that Rangers have failed to beat St Mirren. I mean, that speaks volumes to me. And see, just to go back to Barry Ferguson, I completely agree with you in the sense that, look, I know it sounds dead reductive to say you need a Rangers man or what have you. You need the best managers for the job. But see, we're in a situation where who knows what Rangers is anymore?
They've completely lost their identity.
Exactly. And the only people in that building, as you've said, that have got the identity are the coaching staff.
Yeah, that realise what it used to look like when Rangers were competitive.
I mean, you could see that he was furious yesterday, Barry Ferguson.
Yeah.
Absolutely livid.
Yeah. I think his patience has long since snapped with these players. I'm pretty sure he would have given them both barrels, and not for the first time in the dressing room yesterday. But what can you do?
Aye.
And this is why, Daniel, and I know that I'll get battered for suggesting that he should be taken as a serious candidate, because the results are nowhere near, or the performances nowhere near what is required. But he understands that.
Yeah.
And what I said some weeks ago is, you've actually got a point with these players that they can't be trusted to go to their work. They can't be trusted to perform. Therefore, you can't actually really judge this managerial team on the results that it's getting right now, because they're not responsible for putting that group of players together. But they might have a very good idea about what the group of players should look like next season.
Yeah.
They might have a good idea about the identities of a dozen or so that need to be shown the door with immediate effect, that will just never, fill the jersey. Yeah. And that's what would put them again ahead of somebody. If you pick somebody from God knows where and you parachute him into Ibrox right now, how long is he going to have to take himself to personally assess that squad? At least the squad assessment's been done by them. At least they've got a good idea, as we keep saying, or I keep saying, about recruitment-wise. If you don't know what you're looking for, how can you possibly find it? These guys know what it is, that extra bit that's required, and they'll have made that mental assessment. So it's not just in terms of technical ability, athleticism. There's also that mental bit, and they'll have sifted through this squad, and they'll have their own very clear ideas by now on who might be worth persevering with and who needs to go.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying to you is, Kevin Thirlwell comes in, appoints his own man, great. How long is it going to take that guy now to work with that squad to come to the same probable conclusions? So, as I said, they're so up against it for time. It's actually quite alarming from a Rangers perspective. I just don't see how they get themselves ready for next season.
Just very 2 seconds before we bring in Craig Swan at Celtic Park. Marco Rose
Yeah.
is the new.
His odds have, I mean, that's not even, you wouldn't even say tumble. They have crashed over 24 hours. So that's interesting.
I think he's now 4-7 odds on to be the next Rangers manager. Could you see it perhaps?
You can understand why the link would be made with his previous experience at Salzburg and Leipzig, part of the sort of Red Bull family. Good manager. And, you know, I could certainly understand why he would be a person of interest. I'd be surprised if he wasn't a person of interest. I'd also be quite surprised if Rangers managed to get him, because I think a lot of clubs would be looking for a guy of his quality. But yeah, and I mean that does seem like one. Remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about it. I said eventually one will come out. Somebody will tell somebody, and that'll be, and it might come from left field. That feels as if it could be Marco Rose.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Also, I think before we bring in Swanee, Kevin Thelwell has arranged a meeting with Barry Ferguson, and I would expect that to take place probably early next week. And at that point, you know, at the very least, Barry Ferguson will have a clearer idea: is he, you know, in the mix for this, or is it, you know, somebody else? So I think that's going to be a big conversation, and it'll be interesting to see, because whatever preconceived ideas anybody has with Barry Ferguson, when you actually sit down in a room with him, you come away with a very different opinion. So it might be an interesting discovery conversation for Kevin Thelwell. And all these things will need to be taken into account. But one thing that I would say is it's time. It's gone past time critical. It's now time urgent. And whatever happens at Rangers, they need to really start pushing at it and make it come to some sort of fruition and bring it to